Well, he just did. He just scored 8 points. That's the thing. He had a career. Yep. What is going on, my beautiful people? Hey, it is the wonderful edition of the Sportz Nutz episode 37, guys. It is Friday the 13th. Ooh. Matt, do you have any superstitious events that go on in your mind on Friday the 13th?
Well, man, I mean, due to the fact that I work at the mall, there's always something crazy going on, man. I think today somebody accidentally pulled a fire alarm. Like, how do you accidentally pull a fire alarm? So I mean,
how do you accidentally pull a fire alarm?
Yeah, it's bright red and everything. So yeah, man. I mean, it's always something on Friday.
Hey guys, we are so excited to have you all here to watch this one show. We have a really good friend of ours, a special guest. He's come on a couple other times. We're very excited to have him on. But before we go any further, let's make sure that we give our special shout out to our wonderful sponsor, Tequila's Grill, here located in Easley. Guys, if you are looking for authentic, delicious, affordable Mexican cuisine, Tequila's Grill is where you want to go. From Matt's favorite, the homemade salsa bar, which by the way he devours, to the weekly happy hour, which is from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's buy one, get one 50% off on the drinks, the chimichangas. Tequila has everything you want. Hey, do you have an event coming up, or even better, a birthday celebration? Go ahead, give them a call right now and get it set up. 864-307-8028, or even better, stop on by 5155 Calhoun Memorial Highway in Easley, South Carolina, 29640. Again, that is Tequila's Grill in Easley. Guys, I'm not going to have him wait any longer. We are excited to have him on. Ladies and gentlemen, my man, Abe Gordon. What is going on, Abe? How are you doing, my friend?
Good evening, fellas. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, man. Hope everything's been well with you guys. Brandon, I know you've been through a couple of bumps and bruises, both of your own and of course of your family. Congratulations, Matt. Good to be here, brother. How you going? How you guys doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Glad to have you on today.
Let's go. We are every time I invite you to come on, I get excited. I really do. I feel like a kid at a candy store because I'm like, yes, I got like one of the best talents that is. And Matt and I were just talking about this. I wish I kind of am biased because ATL Hardy here. I wish Atlanta DJs like you, like Brandon, like Nick Shalini, all of them would all be like, up here sometimes too, because I love listening to you guys. We love listening to you guys. We love interacting with you guys. We love talking to you. It's so much fun, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I really do mean a lot to us, buddy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me. It just shows the reach that Atlanta sports has. Obviously, Braves bigger than most, but I know there's discussion of the other squads as well, so we'll get into it.
Yes, that's correct. Hey, a good buddy of ours, and I have to mention it because he is it's our buddy Darren. He is part of a New Orleans broadcast. He is a diehard Saints fan, but he's checking in because he loves checking us out. And ironically, though, Darren has said he hates Atlanta, but the only thing he likes about Atlanta is us. He loves us. So hopefully you grow on him too, and he likes cheering you on because you are from Atlanta. So Abe, I got to ask you this. The wandering minds have to really wonder if you've ever seen this happen. And I just scratched my head because it's confusing. I played football. I've coached football. Have you ever seen a team in college? Now, I know the running clock rule. I've been a part of it, and I've also experienced it too with it. But have you ever seen a college FBS game be shortened because you're getting blown out 80-10?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen running clock situations. There's a couple of those every single year, and especially if you get an injury or two in the first half and you just kind of want to go ahead and get out of there. And then sometimes you'll see games get shortened by weather. I know we saw that from Kentucky earlier this year as well, and that'll force a running clock or, shortened quarters, stuff like that. It happens every once in a while. As long as the game's non-competitive, then, so be it, right? Like don't do that in, a 32-30 game, midway through the third quarter. Be like, it's a 5-minute fourth quarter. But, yeah, I mean, look, it's really tough for these smaller schools because physically they just cannot deal with it. They don't have the depth to begin with. It starts to wear on you, and it can start to get dangerous. And so I'm all in favor. This game of football is dangerous as it is. Any way you can make it safer along those lines, I think we'll be a little bit accepting of that. I don't think anyone's losing a Heisman because they didn't play the 7 minutes of that game. You know what I mean?
It was so strange. From what they were saying on ESPN, that's the third highest scoring game ever in FBS history behind UNLV and I'm drawing a blank who the next one was, but there was one. I think it was UNLV. It was 96 points. I've seen blowouts.
I think South Alabama just put up 87 last night.
Yeah, and they won 87 to 10. It was a thrashing. Hey, I'm all about Mobile. I don't know if you know, but I'm from Mobile, so I'm a diehard Mobile person as it is. My family goes. Some of my family goes to South Alabama, so naturally I'm going to cheer them on. But and I like the small schools, but man, ouch. I understand Northwestern State's getting that paycheck. That's the only reason why they're there. They're getting that paycheck.
It's South Alabama, though. How big could that paycheck really be, right?
I was just about to say, what was
Alabama sliding you a $1.5 million? How big could it really be?
10, 15,000, if that.
Yeah, I'm I can't figure out, what was the whole mind frame behind, hey, let's go travel to Mobile, Alabama and get, walloped 87 to 10. That's obviously the unusual question, but the biggest issue that I have with it is instead of just not only shortening, do the running clock starting even in the second quarter. I mean, what was it, 56 to 10 and going into the halftime? Come on, do you think they should have done the running clock and shortened the game the entire rest of the game?
Well, look, first off, it's something that's got to be agreed upon by both coaches. And sometimes there are reasons that one coach or another doesn't want to. I think a lot of times you'll see backup quarterbacks who may be freshman quarterbacks who need to get that repetition, whether it's against a quality opponent or not. So there's some reasoning there. I think it's great for these smaller schools that do play in these bye games to be able to say, and for every single guy that's active on the roster, yeah, we lost this game by so-and-so, but I stepped onto Bryant Denny and Nick Saban Field, now they call it, and got to play. So I think there are some cool moments that maybe there's some value as to not speeding the game up. But yeah, there's certainly some reasons. And if both coaches, both teams agree it's probably best for what we need to do the rest of the season, then so be it. I think you also get a lot more of this earlier in the year. You don't really see it as much in blowouts late in the season, even if the score is in a similar fashion.
Darren just brought up a really good fact there for you, Matt. Georgia Tech did beat Cumberland College, I believe it was, 222 to nothing in 1916. So, hey, Georgia Tech can hold that on them, Matt.
Is that factual fact?
Yeah, that's real.
That is very real.
Gosh.
That is very real. Hey, before we go to the next question, Abe, I don't know if you see this comment. Our man Trey Davis just said, when you guys mention Abe's name, you should also say the man, the myth, the legend. Hey, there we go. Well,
I think you guys have done that before, so I let it slide this time. You guys have gone that route previously, so it's all good.
Absolutely. Hey, it's really cool. So let's go right into this. Week one, I know you said you were going to save your comments for today. Atlanta Falcons. It has to really, you really have to try to choke it up to Russ with Kirk Cousins. But, I mean, you're getting blown out in a sense because you're killing yourself. You didn't get blown out in the game. You only gave up 6 field goals, which is really good for a defensive standpoint. Please give us your thoughts, your takes on what you you saw and what you didn't see with the Atlanta Falcons?
Well, look, what I saw and what has been said and covered and stated over the course of the week are two separate things. When I look at it, I did not see a quarterback that was not only just not 100% healthy, but was limited in what they were trying to do. Now, the one aspect of this is, all right, maybe Kirk Cousins is limited. They tried to develop an offense they could run with those limitations, and they thought it would work. It didn't work. And so now you have to remove those limitations. And if he's got to take 7-step drops, 5-step drops from under center, and deliver the ball, so be it. That was kind of my take. But the team has insisted, both Kirk and Raheem Morris, they continue to insist that he is fully healthy. Zach Robinson spoke on Thursday, and they talked about keeping this pistol and shotgun. There's a number of things they wanted to do with it, and they think it could work. And so was there some rust? I'm sure that was part of it, right? You're not going to take all of it and blame the injury. Was TJ Watt a real issue that probably limited what you could do on offense? Absolutely. But we're going to take an opportunity here and give them a little bit of leash. We're going to let it out a little bit, but it's got to look better in week 2. And that's tough because you could look better offensively and still lose this game. It's Monday night against Philly. I mean, if you're not scoring at least 24-27, you're probably not going to win because you're not holding the Eagles to nothing but field goals. I think we all understand that. So there are possibilities that your offense looks a lot better and you still lose this game, and that could be its own problem. But we're going to see if it looks better. We're going to see if Kirk looks better before we make any like grand statements. And Kirk explained the feet being even, which I know a lot of people had kind of circled. And that was something he did a decade ago when he was doing some pistol stuff. Everyone said right foot forward, right foot forward. He used to be left foot forward. When he was with the Commanders, he was left foot forward. So he's made these changes for various reasons at times in his career. The mindset as he announced it in regards to feet being even and running it out of the pistol is if one foot's forward, it's tougher to turn both ways on handoffs where you could do that naturally from under center, depending on how you want to do it. And then shotgun, you're probably not running it that much anyways. So that's why you can play it however you would like to play it. So we're going to give him the opportunity and see if it gets better, but it was a real problem. They keep insisting that he's healthy. I don't know if that's the case. I find it real difficult to believe that you paid $100 million to a guy and are asking him to do something different than what he'd been doing the last 7-8 years at a very high success rate with the Vikings. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. What they have done, though, is take a lot of the pressure off Kirk Cousins, right? And they're telling you he's healthy and they're going to go with the pistol and this is what it's going to be. Okay, now it's on Zach Robinson because the game plan did not work in week 1. Kirk was not good enough. The offensive line was not good enough, but the play calling also wasn't good enough. And so if Kirk is not the issue, then it comes down to the offensive coordinator. So they've put a lot of pressure on first-year caller Zach Robinson.
You know, and that's what – so I have a mixed reviews about the pistol formation. I've always had mixed reviews. I understand, you know, it's a very well used formation in college, but I think the last coach that I can remember that used the pistol formation and I'm going to use these in air quotes, successfully was Harbaugh and Colin Kaepernick, if I'm not mistaken. And even then, teams figured out how to use it. And then the next season, Kaepernick, he went back to his ways of struggling in the game, and because teams had figured him out, you know. And I personally want to say this with Kirk Cousins, it's rusty. He hadn't played since week 8 of the previous year. He's coming off a very significant major injury. Tearing the Achilles by anything is one of the hardest injuries to come back from anybody. And people, I don't know if you're part of any like Falcons Facebook groups, but and I'm pretty sure you've even heard this throughout the town, is they're calling for Raheem Morris's head. They're calling
no one real's doing that. Like, that's nonsense.
I've heard so many saying,
but Brandon, you text me all the time with stuff that you've heard that's nonsense, like all the time. Like, you know how many things you've sent me that I like take like with reality. Like just earlier today, you said one. I'm like, all right, who said that? Like,
that's why I said to the guy. I don't even know Adam.
Yeah, and half the time the stories and the headlines don't match, and that's not a you thing. That's an editor thing who's trying to get you with clickbait, and I understand that. But yeah, like you always send me nonsense. I'm like, all right, I'll believe that when I see it, and it never comes true. Like I'm sure there are Falcons fans who are morons on Facebook or message board. You know how toxic message boards are, but like that's such a dumb. It's such a dumb thing to say. Like that's
one
clearly
game.
It's clearly right. It's clearly not going to happen now. And look. I don't even think it's about winning and losing in terms of Kirk Cousins and making a change. If it looks this way, like 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in, and it looks like it did with the Steelers, like maybe you go back to, all right, Kirk's limited. Maybe Michael Penix would give you some more options. That discussion's not that far off, but it's also far enough off that it's not worth our time right now. Mm-hmm. I also want to say this about the pistol, and you guys know this as well as anyone. The NFL is a copycat league. I think we've seen McVay and Matthew Stafford develop into a pistol-heavy offense as well. We saw, not heavy, but like they're using it more than just from time to time. We saw a lot of that from them in their Week 1 loss to the Lions. It's going to take hold a lot more than just Atlanta trying it out. I don't think Zach Robinson is wild enough to like come in here and like do something the NFL's never seen in his first year as a play caller. But we do see a lot of that from Stafford and McVay, especially already in Week 1. So NFL's copycat league. They're going to try it out and they're going to stick with it. They think they can find some advantages, and that's fine. But again, you better look better in Week 2 than you did in Week 1.
Absolutely. Matt, Atlanta has like they have the pressure of the world really on them right now for Week 2, because think about it too, Abe. If Atlanta goes into Week 4, they're 0-3. How many people are going to sit there and say, "Here we go again"?
Yeah, here's the problem. Here's the problem with that mindset is you have to look at what games matter, because if you're 0-3 and then you're 2-3. Those 2 wins are against the Saints and against the Buccaneers, right? And I think the Panthers actually follow right after. I have to double check who their Week 6 game is. But like, if you go 6-0, and I'm not saying they will, but let's say you start 0-3. If you go 6-0 in your division, you're probably still winning the NFC South. So like 0-3 is not great. There's very few record of teams that have done that and then gone on to the playoffs. It probably diminishes a little bit because you added the 17th game. That probably stretches out some of the slow starts for teams. You've added extra wild card spots over the past couple of years. That probably helps out as well. And the division sucks, and that's its own discussion. But I think if you win those next 2 games, right, I think we're having a way different discussion, even at 2-3, still with a losing record, than you would have at 0-3. So again, the patience is so tough because you paid $100 million. You're supposed to be this tier of contender that you just didn't show. But that doesn't mean you won't be there at the end of the season or even by the midway point. And even at 0-3, I agree, Brandon, Matt, there's going to be a ton of panic. And like people will be calling for Michael Penix. But those next 2 games are probably way more important than these first 3 games. And so there has to be a little bit of hesitancy and patience and understanding of what's to come on the schedule before you just totally flip out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Matt, go ahead and chime in on this because I want to hear your thoughts with, chiming in with both what Abe and I are saying with the Falcons.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, first off, of course, you have some people who think, okay, why do this? Why even bring Kirk Cousins in if we're going to make him uncomfortable? Of course, you have people who think that, which, understandably so. But again, I'm under the notion of it's just one game. Let him shake the rust off. Let's see what happens. As far as anybody calling for Raheem Morris's head, like I said, I can't buy that. Not now. It's only been one game, man. It's been one game. I'm pretty sure his leash is going to be a lot longer than his last couple.
Oh yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Believe that. For me, my biggest takeaway of that offense, man, I saw a lot of things not able to develop because simply, man, and I'm gonna say it here, and I don't want to put anybody on blast or anything like that, But to me, honestly, it was Kyle Pitts' blocking. I mean,
it's Kaleb McGary's blocking, and then Kyle Pitts is not helping. But yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, of course.
With the chip
it's the worst chip possible. It's you're aiding TJ Watt in getting around Kaleb McGary when you chip him up the field and you don't stop his momentum. And yeah, it wasn't one time. It was multiple times, and it was a real problem. You brought in like blocking tight ends, like let them block. Like I don't know, but Kaleb McGary, TJ Watt. That's why you have to take this offense. And I know you were headed in this direction, Matt. But
yes,
like that's why you have to give this offense another opportunity to see, because the Eagles have a good defensive line. There's no denying that. They don't have TJ Watt, and so you've got to see how it looks when you don't have a complete game record changing things from the other defense.
And I agree. Fletcher Cox is not walking through that door. So I agree with that. I think they'll be better, a little bit better offensively. Well, not only do they have to be, but I think they will be a little bit better offensively, especially using Bijan and a little bit more as far as in the run game. But as far as that goes, tell me what do you think? What do you think are the differences that the Falcons have to do in order to be successful against the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, first things first is protecting Kirk Cousins and letting plays develop. I mean, the interceptions and even the longest completion to Ray McCloud that kind of got floated in the air, like the pocket collapsed, and obviously Kirk Cousins is not going to escape the pocket. I know he did on the touchdown to Pitts rolling out to his left, but for the most part, when the pocket collapses, if he can't step into the throw, he's just not going to get the juice on it. He's not that young buck that's got that arm that can, Anthony Richardson slips and doesn't even step forward and tosses 163 yards. Like Kirk Cousins is not going to do that.
No.
But if you give him time, it's not even really about a ton of time. He's going to get the ball out when it needs to come out. If you can make it so he's able to step into his throw, I think he can be a lot more effective. And so that's the first start. And this one may not be on Kaleb McGary. I mean, you got Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter in the middle. I mean, your two guards, Bergeron, Lindstrom, and then your center, Drew Dahlman, are going to have to work overtime in this one to make sure it doesn't come straight through the middle on Kirk Cousins. And then, quite frankly, it comes down to Zach Robinson. Drake London had like 2 catches for 15 yards. Kyle Pitts, I know he had the touchdown, and that kind of salvages the day that he had, but he had like 3 catches, whatever it was, 26 yards.
Yeah.
Like Ray McCloud can't be your leading receiver.
Exactly.
Right? That's just not healthy for the offense. And quite frankly, as dynamic and as much as I do like Bijan Robinson, you have got to find better balance with Tyler Algier. This is a guy that on the 3 runs he did have looked like a tear. This is a guy that 2 years ago ran for 1,000 yards as a rookie. I'm not saying he's Bijan Robinson, but he has a different impact on the defenses than Bijan.
Yes.
And you look, Bijan can't touch it 30 times every week.
No.
He's not going to last.
This is also not the early, mid 90s range when you had people like Jamal Anderson who was getting 30 plus carries a game. And the question that everybody wants to know, obviously, is when are we going to see the real Kyle Pitts? Or is this the Kyle Pitts that we're going to see where it's but it's never.
Yeah. Again, I mean, it's so tough to judge week 1 when you don't have time and you can't step into throws. And look, that's a pretty good Steelers secondary. When you got Joey Porter Jr. and Minkah Fitzpatrick, I mean, they got a pretty good secondary. And look, the Eagles are okay, but, someone's going to have to challenge Quinyon Mitchell, the rookie out of Toledo. Very high potential, very high prospect, but still a rookie. Let's see. And he doesn't have the size to deal with Kyle Pitts or Drake London, if we're going to be quite frank. He is a smaller guy. But they got some other guys out there as well, Darius Slay. And it's going to be interesting. But I think all of that comes in time, Brandon, with getting an opportunity to see Kirk Cousins unleash it. And that just wasn't the case in week 1. And again, that's just back to the moral of the point we've been discussing this whole time. That's why you don't make these grand comments or decisions based on 1 week sample size. You've got to see more than that, because it wasn't just Kyle Pitts. He did get a touchdown. That's something. It was Drake London too. I mean, look, these guys are not going to have 30 catches on the season. That's kind of the pace they're on over the course of that game. It'll heat up, but yeah, I mean, look, it's a tough schedule to start. And I know overall, but like I said this a while ago, you look at their last 8 games of the season, like there's a real shot they win 8 straight games to end the year. Like it just, it lightens up into a crazy potential run. And so you're not going to get too down on this too early. But yeah, you'd like to see it. You got a touchdown, that's something. But yeah, you want to see him be a difference maker, be a game wrecker, be a problem. And we didn't really get that week 1, but I think a lot of that had to do with the offensive line, Kirk Cousins, and maybe some rust.
Yeah. There's, I'm part of a group on Facebook of Falcons, and I posed the question: were you guys expecting the Falcons to be 21-0 after week 1 and holding the trophy? I mean, that's kind of the mind frame. And then I told people, if you really want to be fair weather fans and bandwagoners, Seattle and Dallas, they're calling. Get on out of here. It takes time. And I think people are having a hard time because, the media is what did it best. What did it worse for everybody was Kirk Cousins. This is this best team. This is this could be a 14-win kind of season. People had that, oh my goodness, this could be it. Yes, this is a significantly better looking team than what we have seen in the past 3 years. But guys, we're not talking about a 13, 14, 15, 16, or heck, even a 17-0 team. We're not seeing that. This could be, a difference maker of an 11-win team. And you've even pointed out, we all know this, the NFC South is the toilet bowl. I mean, no, I don't see the Panthers anytime soon raising their hand and saying, we're coming for you. And, I told this to Matt last week. I said, the only team that I could see maybe giving us trouble to just for the division in general is the Saints. They always give us trouble. But, the Bucs are the Bucs. I think they're just enough with Baker Mayfield. And I'm not dogging Baker Mayfield. I think he's a great quarterback. I think, Cleveland's kicking themselves in the backside for not keeping him. But, the Bucs are probably an 8 or 9 and 8 kind of team. The Saints, I could be wrong. They could be a 6-11 team. We don't know yet. But the Panthers, they're sure as heck not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So I think the biggest issue for the Falcons is the Falcons. That's really all it is.
Well, I would slow down on dumping on the Bucs a little bit. I think they are a good team that can be a real problem in the division. But we'll see how it plays out. And look, I thought that the Falcons were probably an 11-12 team. That would have had to come with beating Pittsburgh, though. It really had to get off to that start. Because you always looked at these next 2 as likely losses. Monday in Philadelphia, primetime at home, Sunday night, the week after. But against the Kansas City Chiefs, those are always going to be tough wins. And so I'm kind of pulling off of 12, 9, 10, 11, somewhere in that range. It should be where you're at. And like I said that there's an opportunity to win 8 straight at the end of the year. I'm not saying they're going to win all 8, but those should be an opportunity. They may be favored in all 8 games potentially. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, just win the division. That's kind of where we're at. But again, we'll see how it all shakes out. The Saints look great in week 1. They're also playing the Panthers, and Derek Carr. Well, Derek Carr's second touchdown was completely thrown up for grabs, and his guy got it. A better team, that's not a touchdown. It's potentially a pick. Most likely an incomplete pass. And so we're not going to read too much into that. We'll find out plenty about the Saints and plenty about the Buccaneers this weekend with the games that they have. So looking forward to that. As always, the NFL delivers on Sunday and in this case on Monday. But yeah, it's going to be a battle for the Falcons. I don't think that they're walking straight to the to the NFC South, but back to how you started this question, and I'm as guilty as anyone. We also can't sit here and pretend we're satisfied with week 1.
No.
Yeah, there was hype around this team, and I'm not getting into the wins or losses, but there was hype around this offense, and this was a massive, massive underachievement for what we expected. And I'm not sitting here saying they were going to score 30 points a game. I'm not sitting here saying they have a top 5 offensive line. I'm not sitting here saying this or that. But I also thought that 10 points is considering what you expected them to be able to do. And I'm not talking about best case scenario. What do they look like? I'm talking about realistic. This is how this offense should roll. 10 points is not enough. And so offseason hype or not, they still did underachieve on that side of the ball in week 1.
And they, with the amount of money and time and effort that they spent in there, you would expect more than 10 points. So, obviously I'm not going to be disappointed in the defense. The defense did a phenomenal job only holding them to 6 field goals. In the same sense that you can't expect the defensive team to be on there for the whole 60 minutes. And I feel that's kind of what a lot of fans, they expected with seeing, when it started showing that way with the results like they had with Arthur Smith. Because remember, Arthur Smith, he never really got that level of excitement in the offense, and it was relying more on the defense to stay on the field. And it really kind of burned a lot of people's britches at the fact that the Falcons only did get 10 points. And, when you say, I think we'll see a better team, I really do think we will see a better performance Monday night. And you also have to remember the Falcons are going to have the spotlight on them. So naturally they're going to have to tell themselves we've got to perform way better. And the silly mistakes and the costly turnovers, they have to clean those up. You have to clean them up. I mean, you can't really win games if you throw 2 interceptions, especially at crucial points during the game. 2 of them were at the most critical points, though. Yeah. And and rule of thumb in football is if you have 1 or fewer turnovers, you have about a 70% chance. 2, it drops significantly. 3, it's pretty much gone out the drain. 4 and more, you're really not going to have an opportunity. And Atlanta really did a number on themselves with penalties, with turnovers, and that kind of stuff. So, a comment just said that I don't know anything about the Atlanta Falcons. If I'm saying what I'm saying, the Falcons are going to win 9 wins at most. Hey, the division is a crapshoot division. And, we could see the division be won with 10 wins. We don't know yet what is to come. But, let's go on to the next topic with you on this, Abe. I think it's fair and all to say, let's go ahead and put the tombstone on for the Atlanta Braves. The injury bug has won. It's kicked everybody's backside and then some for the Atlanta Braves. What is the best options going for the remaining bit of the season that is left for the Atlanta Braves to look forward to 2025?
Well, look, I said the last time I was here, I didn't think they were winning the World Series, but I still thought that they would make the playoffs. And maybe they missed the playoffs and maybe not. I mean, their schedule's much easier than the Mets. They still have the head-to-head series with them. That's going to be a home series if you handle business in that one. So I don't know if I think you're premature on the tombstone stuff. Again, they're not winning it all. I think we all understand that, but I think they can still make their way into the playoffs, and anything can happen in that first series. So we'll see what happens there. Look, obviously with Ronaldo Lopez going down, and he could return in that Mets series potentially. You remember the last time he was out and came back, his first start, he was stellar. So, but I think you might see Ian Anderson come up. I think he's been pretty good with Gwinnett. He was at 90 pitches in a pretty good start on Tuesday, so he'd be on schedule. They used the off day yesterday to reset the rotation, and they're taking care of business tonight at home right now against the Dodgers. So that's a good start to that important 4-game series. At the same time, I didn't check the score yet. But the Mets have 7 games with the Phillies coming up. They also end the season with the Brewers, who are leading the NL Central. They do not have a difficult schedule. So I'm not closing the door on them making the playoffs. Again, don't twist my words. The World Series is not going to happen. It's just too much to ask. But it'll be interesting to see if they can still play into the playoffs, which I think would be, considering the injury bug, an incredible accomplishment, to be honest.
And I'm excited to see what Chris Sale has done. Phenomenal season. They said it's the best season he's had since he was the MVP or the Cy Young winner. But, do you think Chris Sale has done enough to win the Cy Young this season, even though the Braves season has not gone the way that we fans had hoped?
Yeah, he'll win the Cy Young. I don't know how bad his last however many 3 starts would had to be for him to not win it. He leads the majors in ERA. Wins, he's in that discussion. Strikeouts, he's in that discussion, if not leading in those. I know Dylan Cease has poured it on a little bit recently in the strikeouts, but he may still be leading in wins. He's got that streak of consecutive starts with 2 or fewer earned runs. I think that's going to go a far way as well. He would have to just have some historically bad outings in these last 2 or 3 for him not to win the Cy Young. He's going to win the Cy Young.
Okay, that's good to hear. Obviously, we want to see good things happen for Atlanta. This season has not been what we had hoped. The injury, I tell everybody this constantly. The MVP of the Atlanta Braves 2024 season is the injury bug. It has won 100%. It's knocked out phenomenal talent. And, I do tip my cap metaphorically and physically to the Atlanta Braves because you keep losing players, but you keep finding ways to get the win. And, that shows the true heart of a team, that shows that they can do it. But, there's only so much that can go into, you're on your third string player or your third player that you've called up from minors, and then he gets hurt. Then you go on to your fourth one. It's like there's only so much you can do until it's enough is enough with the injury bug. So I hope for Atlanta's sake they do at least clinch the third wild card spot. Even if albeit just be a 1-game series, they get eliminated. It's okay. They still got pretty good considering all that has happened to them. It's everybody's game basically on that one. And now with regards to the division, I agree the division's done. You can wrap it up and say no more for the Atlanta Braves, but we don't know. Strange things have happened in all sports. So I want to ask you this because Matt and I, we're basketball people. The season's coming up close. Matt, I know you want to talk to him about Trae Young and talk to him about the Atlanta Hawks. Can you please enlighten us, Abe, as to what Trae Young needs to do next? Because Matt and I actually just said this last episode. What does Trae Young need to do next to help Atlanta get over that hurdle and get back to even going to the second round of the playoffs, not just being in the play-in tournament?
Well, I don't think it's about him. It's about the other guys. The Trae Young thing and the Trae Young disrespect. Trae Young would be respected every bit as much as just because he kind of broke out this year, Jalen Brunson, if the team was winning, but they're not winning. And I don't think that's necessarily on him. If you want me to specify things that Trae Young can do, a little bit more effort on defense, you could ask. Maybe he puts some effort in there or not. I think he was a little bit more active this past season on defense, if we're going to be honest. But look, he's never going to be a lockdown defender. So you got to kind of take the good with the bad. But yeah, he's always near the league leading assists. And I don't care how many people are like, well, he just passes the ball with 3 seconds on the shot clock. His teammates seem to make it. Well, how is that the discussion? And then we're also talking about every single year they need to surround Trae with better shooters. I thought all the shooters were racking up assists for him. So I don't know how you have both of those things. But no, I mean, it's not on Trae Young. We're going to be quite honest. DeJounte Murray was not what we were expecting him to be, certainly not defensively. And their partnership didn't work. And there have been a number of guys here that have not been what we were expecting them to be. I mean, John Collins got worse and worse and worse. And DeAndre Hunter scores 20 points against the Heat in the playoffs. They give him a 4-year deal, and he gets worse and worse and worse. And I know has found a nice little role coming off the bench and can be a difference maker in that role. And he's looked better there. But, when we're talking about the Hawks, it's not about Trae Young. Right now, it's about the development of 2 players. And one of those you saw take a step, but also dealt with injuries. And can he be a difference maker? And that's Jalen Johnson. And then what's the development of Zachary Riza-Shea, the number 1 pick from this year? I mean, look, Onyeka Okongwu did not develop the way he needed to. He never found an outside shot, which I think he was, in theory, supposed to be working on. I mean, maybe he worked on it for like 6 days and said, I'm good here. And then went into the season and shot 18% or whatever the number was. I don't know if that's a real number, Matt. You have to, it might be. I would like to think
it seems accurate.
Yeah, it seemed like they're pretty accurate. When you watch it, you're just like, what were you thinking?
But yeah, I mean, look, the Hawks are not going to be as good as they potentially could be if Riza-Shea doesn't turn into a difference maker. and Jalen Johnson doesn't become one of like the 30 or 40 best players in the NBA. And I honestly believe that he can. He's got to stay healthy. I think we've started to see his confidence build as well. And I think if Reza Shea can turn into a weapon, and you can continue to bring Bogey and Hunter off the bench. And then the other thing is Dyson Daniels. All right, it didn't work with DeJounte Murray. Can Dyson Daniels play defense? I know he's supposed to be one of the better defenders on ball in the league. Look, he shot the ball decently well with Australia in the Olympics and in the lead up to the Olympics. He got a lot of people excited, but he's not historically a great three-point shooter. But if he's able to add a little bit more consistency there and start at the two, and you're not asking a ton from him, it has the makings of a little bit of a core here. But you're still asking for a lot of development from Dyson Daniels, from Jalen Johnson, and certainly from Zachary Reza-Shea. It's tough to think that you're going to hit all of those after missing on, Cam Reddish and John Collins and Yuka Okongwu, and I know AJ Griffin's going through it for different reasons, and Hunter as well. So like it'd be amazing if like all of the sudden you get three guys developing the way you need them to when so many guys previously haven't. But it's tough because Trey's the face of the team. He's the superstar. He's the guy that ends up on highlight reels, and we're going to put it all on him. I just don't think it is, though. If we're going to be honest, I really don't.
I actually agree with you there, man. I don't think it's all on Trae Young. I think it's on the team and putting somebody around him. If we look at all the superstars that are out there, look at Jalen Brunson, look at Halliburton. Look at all these players, man. They have another player that can go out there and get you 30. They have somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like everybody, even Luka has it. Everybody has it except for the Atlanta Hawks. I think it's crazy to expect Trae Young to be able to carry this team without another all-star level player, which is pretty much, if you go down each team in the league that's worth a damn, they have two all-star type players on their squad. That is every playoff team there that is out there, every playoff team. So my question to you, Abe, is why do you think the Hawks are being so stubborn and they just won't put another all-star around Trae?
Well, they did. And it was DeJounte Murray, and it didn't work. DeJounte Murray was an all-star with the Spurs. He was supposed to come in here and be the running mate, and it didn't happen. I don't think it's necessarily for a lack of effort. I think they tried it, and it did not work. And there's no trying to, like, paint this with a nice brush. It did not work. But I do think they tried it, and so I do kind of have to give a pass on that discussion. But like in this offseason, for instance, when it clearly didn't work, and you moved him, and we'll see if you're able to make a run at someone. I know there was like Pascal Siakam, right? Like when he went to the Pacers, was that something maybe you could have got a move on? And there's a couple of these other superstars that's changed teams this year or re-upped at their own team. Could you made a bigger run at them? I understand it, but what you really need is a big. Like, you don't need another guard, and there's just not that many bigs that have that sort of impact on the game. And the one that kind of loosely gets tied to Atlanta is maybe Karl Anthony Towns, but I don't see Minnesota breaking it down right now either. So there's just like 3 or 4 bigs that would like actually work here, and they're not up for grabs. And so I'm not making a move on a big name and a high price contract just to do it. It's got to be the right fit. And it quite honestly, and I do agree with what you're saying, Matt, and what you require for that to win. That's got to be Jalen Johnson this year. Like there's no reason he shouldn't be an all-star level player if he can stay healthy. I think we saw a lot of insight into the potential and possibility last season. But if he takes another half step forward, if he stays healthy, I think he can be that guy that can get you 20, 25 on a given night alongside Trae. I really do.
I agree. I can see Jalen Johnson averaging about 20 a game next year. I definitely can see that.
Yeah.
Obviously it comes down to the player's willingness to, better themselves. you know, the old saying is you can't fix those who don't want to be fixed, and that is very true. Now, if Atlanta can come out and shock us all and be the team that, you know, won 60 plus games that a few years back, we don't know yet. It's still up in the air, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen, you know, with us and with the Atlanta Hawks. You know, can the Atlanta Hawks finally get over the play-in issues? You know, and you know, is Snyder the answer? I hope for all purposes, intents and purposes, he is the answer at coaching for Atlanta. You know, obviously my old school self would love to go back to the time when Lenny Wilkens was our head coach. Lenny Wilkens did phenomenal things. God, I mean, the 90s were such a special time with the Atlanta Hawks. You know, I got the privilege of being turned on to the Hawks when the Human Highlight and Spud played on the team. That was like the thing. You know, I got to go to see them play in the Omni quite a bit. That was a rundown dump, but it was a great rundown dump for its time. You know, and I'm excited. I really am. I'm excited to see what's happening. You know, I asked you this earlier with regards to college football. Which game or games could you be eyeballing? And you pointed out one really good one, and I had a lot of people say that was actually a really good choice, which was Memphis and FSU. I mean, you know, the burning questions are really going to come if 0-3 FSU starts. Like, you know, that could be it for DJ Uiagalelei. He could be forever gone. If you start 0-3 at FSU, refresh me. I really don't remember the last time FSU was really that bad. Do you remember when they were that bad?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite frankly not that long ago. I mean, before Jameis came in, there were some tough years with you know, Wyatt Sexton or didn't Chris Ricks, or I mean, they had, you know, whatever. Yeah, but there have been years, and I'm not necessarily sure that they're that bad right now. I think there's issues on offense. Remember, their offensive coordinator's like gone for 3 games. I think he was suspended or penalized or something. So, you know, maybe the offense kicks into gear after this Memphis game when they get their regular offensive coordinator back. And yeah, like I am looking at this game, and look, I'm looking at a lot of other games too. It's a pretty strong. I know a lot of people don't necessarily look at it because there's not like just a bunch of ranked versus ranked games. There's a couple, including one tonight. But if there was one game I thought might go overlooked, it's Memphis and Florida State. And here's the thing. Boise State had their shot last week at Oregon. Tulane had their shot last week against Kansas State. And I guess in theory, they'll have another shot at Oklahoma this week. And Texas State had their opportunity to make a statement win last night, and they faltered in the fourth quarter. There's a big rush. And this is to me, this has been one of the more enjoyable aspects of going to the enlarged playoff field, the group, the 12 teams, is this like crazy rush to be the highest ranked group of 5 conference champion. And Boise State faltered in their opportunity, Texas State and Tulane. And Memphis is going to be in this discussion, right? And a win at Florida State, even a Florida State team that's not like the greatest win we've ever seen, right? It's still on the road at Florida State, a win over a Power 5, Power 4 opponent. This is their opportunity to kind of stake that first claim as to being, we're the team that should be in the front, in the lead for this group of 5 playoff spot. And here's the thing. The one thing Memphis does well, which is run the ball, is obviously been the issue for Florida State, stopping the run. And so I don't even think it's a terrible matchup. It's going to be really, really interesting to see this one play out. It's one of those games that maybe not a lot of people are going to be paying a ton of attention to. I think it's on at the same time as Alabama, Wisconsin, and it might even be on at the same time as LSU, South Carolina, and Boston College, Missouri is on at that time. It can get bumped down a little bit, but man, it's a game that I'm definitely keeping an eye on, because I think there's a real opportunity, as you mentioned, Brandon, that they could go to 0-3. And as bad as that would be for Florida State, I think this is a massive, massive opportunity for Memphis.
Yes,
absolutely.
And remember, there's a ton of like, you know, Mike Norvell was the former Memphis coach. Like the coach at Memphis now was Norvell's offensive line coach years ago. Like there's a ton of interwoven storylines here too.
And I'm excited for Memphis because Memphis, as you know, and it's been mentioned quite a bit through 24/7 Sports, On 3 Sports. Everybody has said Memphis is one of the teams that could potentially get an invite.
Hoping to draw the stories away from Penny Hardaway. That's what they're working on.
Oh my gosh, and I still have trouble wrapping my head around the fact that Penny Hardaway is a coach. Like I still remember turning the TV on and him and Shaq were dishing dimes with kind of thing. It's hard to wrap my brain around that. And Matt, I want to ask you this because obviously you're a Georgia Tech guy. They're playing VMI, which it should be an easy win.
Yeah.
But I'm not discrediting the SoCon. The SoCon is a good conference. I mean, look what Western Carolina did to NC State a couple weeks ago. They took them down to the tooth and nail in that one. But let me ask you this, Matt. What game or games are you even eyeballing for this week? Because it's a lot of good games.
Actually, man, the game that I actually want to see is the LSU versus South Carolina. I'm actually going to check that game out, man. I think that's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a lot better than what people think. I don't think South Carolina is just going to lay down. I think they're going to give LSU a run for their money.
Well, there's a couple things when it comes to that game, right? And the biggest concern I would have for South Carolina is even though they thrashed Kentucky 31-6 and looked really good doing it, they only ran for 79 yards. And that's a real spot of concern in a game that you're dominating. And Rocket Sanders, the transfer from Arkansas, is just not really getting it done for them. That's going to be a problem. And then the other aspect, and this is where they really will either lose or win this game, is they obviously wreaked havoc on Brock Vandegrift, the Kentucky quarterback, last week. That defensive line, they've got some real studs in that for South Carolina. But if they can't pressure Nussmeier and LSU's offensive line holds up, it's going to be a tough time for them. That's the matchup. If LSU's offensive line can create time and space and a pocket for Nussmeier, I think the Gamecocks are in real trouble. Because they can't run the ball. They're going to give LSU plenty of possessions, but they've got some studs. And if they can get in on LSU the way they got in on Kentucky and force what was Kentucky 6 of 17 for like 58 yards passing, and
it was really
each guy threw an interception. There were a couple of fumbles. If they can ugly this thing up, and it can be interesting. But I don't know, man. I think I trust LSU's O-line to handle it. And then I just don't know how the Gamecocks are going to move the ball on the other side.
That's been the burning question around, here in the upstate. There's been a lot of people who are saying, they could see it be, they would give South Carolina a 49 to 51% chance to beat LSU. Then there have been people who are saying, oh no, it's actually 51% chance that South Carolina pulls this upset. Anybody can win on any given day. And and then you also have to look at it as it is LSU. They are a predominant team in the SEC year in and year out. And you do have Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is not going to say, you know what, here's the flag. I'm going to let you guys walk over. No, he's going to come up with some significant game plans. And you're right. If now I told this to Matt too with Florida State and Georgia Tech. I said, if Georgia Tech comes out hot, then it could be Georgia Tech's game. And if they came out cold, it'd be Florida State. Georgia Tech came out hot, and it became their game. They stuck neck and neck. Well, I'm gonna tell you the same thing. If South Carolina comes out, guns a-blazing, they're hot and they're doing their thing, then it will be a very interesting game, and it could very rarely be South Carolina's game. But if they come out with a manila offense, going 3 and out, average play, doing bare minimum on defense, LSU is going to run all over South Carolina. It really is going to be a tale of which team for which school has the hot start. That's what it comes down to with that game. Do you agree with that?
Well, the difference is that I don't think South Carolina can come from behind and win this game if there's a multiple possession deficit. I think LSU could. If this game just happens to be 14-3, like midway through the second quarter with the Gamecocks up, I could see LSU turning some things around and coming out of halftime, finding their way back into it. I don't know if South Carolina can fall behind multiple possessions, though. The thing for the Gamecocks, and they can win this game, there's no doubt about that. They just need a lot of things to go right. Like I said, they need to find a way to establish the run game, which they have not done in previous weeks, and they need their defensive line to get home and get the quarterback. Like, if those two things happen, then like, yeah, they absolutely could win. It's going to be a raucous crowd. We know that game day is there. Like, fans are going to be pumped for this, and it's going to be a problem early on for LSU. I do expect, as you mentioned, maybe a slower start because of the environment before you settle in and you get amped up. You got the energy for
the excitement,
South Carolina. Yeah, and you got all that going for you. So they may be able to start quick, but does it hold? Are they able to sustain that, or does LSU maybe kind of find a rhythm and as stuff calms down?
And that has obviously been the burning question. The one game, and I want you guys to kind of, interject with if you don't agree with it. The one game that I'm really kind of intrigued by, and for reasons being, is because it's even odd year issues with them. The even years, Vanderbilt, they do good. Odd years, they really do bad. And they're playing Georgia State at Georgia State. Vanderbilt is 2-0. It is an even year. Could Vanderbilt start 3-0?
Yeah. I can see them beating Georgia State, man. Especially the way Georgia Tech just manhandled Georgia State last week. I just don't think Georgia State has enough to compete with anybody in that conference. Any of the Power 5 conferences. So I can see them. I can see them Vanderbilt coming out and then having their way early and just. I think it's going to be an ugly game.
What do you think, Abe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Matt. Like, I know Vanderbilt's probably one of, if not the worst team in the SEC, and I'm not trying to fight against that, but like they do still have SEC players. They do still have talent.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tough for Georgia State, but this is one I wouldn't be surprised. I do think Vanderbilt is kind of due for like a letdown game that just feels right for them after their week 1 performance against Virginia Tech. Like, I just don't know how often they're going to be ramping up and playing at that level. And that was about as good as they could play for 60 minutes, plus the overtime. Georgia State can be dangerous. I know the score line for that Georgia Tech game wasn't the greatest thing, but that was a dogfight. I think Georgia Tech had to battle and catch a couple of breaks in that one to make it easy and comfortable and relaxing of a victory. I think Georgia State can put up a little bit of a fight. Overall, you just have to wonder if there's just too much talent with the Commodores for them to overcome. But they feel like they're due for a letdown game. I just don't know if it's such a big letdown that the talent can't overcome.
How do you guys feel about Georgia, Kentucky? Look, I know Georgia is the perennial powerhouse right now in the SEC. We could see we're possibly looking at the first three-peat in most sport in a long time. With regards to that, do you think Kentucky has a bounce back game, gives Georgia a little run for the money, or is it too much Georgia, too fast? Georgia wins like 45-0. Matt.
Hold on. I think Abe's talking. Abe, we don't hear you.
I think you're hear Abe. You're muted. Oh, there you go.
I was muted. I thought the dog. I thought the dog was gonna howl at me, and I went on mute, and then I left it on mute. Here's the thing, though. Like, Lexington's been super weird for the Bulldogs in recent years. They went down there in 2022. It was 16-6. They went down there in 2020, or I guess up there in 2020. It was 14-3. It's been some weird games in the Bluegrass State there. And so I actually think it's going to go the other way. I know a lot of Georgia people are kind of concerned that it's not going to look impressive after what Texas did. I think it's going to go the other way. I think they're going to get off to a good start. And this is not a Kentucky team that can run the ball like they have in years past with Ray Davis or Chris Rodriguez and guys like that. We saw what the South Carolina offensive line did to him and how Brock Vandagriff really wasn't able to overcome that very well. I imagine Georgia can do a little bit of that too. And if they can't, the secondary is there to protect them. You get Trevor Etienne. You saw him for 5 touches last week, 78 yards against, obviously, Tennessee Tech. I think this is a game, and here's what's interesting and what should excite Georgia fans if it happens. Carson Beck and the Georgia Bulldogs had a massive issue a year ago getting off to fast starts. I don't know why, man, but I got a feeling they're going to get off to a fast start against Kentucky and race out to a lead. I don't think this is going to be one of these, what do we say, 14-3, 16-6 games. Like, I think they're going to get into the 30s and 40s. I really do. I know. I'm one of the few here in the Atlanta area that's like, I just think they're really going to handle business in a big way and make the statement that they made week 1 against Clemson.
It's a very real possibility, Matt. What do you have a question for about or comment about?
All right, Abe. I want on a lighter note. I want to kind of touch base on these particular schools. They to them it's a big in-state rivalry. A lot of smack is talked, so to speak. What do you think is going to go down between the Colorado and Colorado State?
Not a lot of high quality football, but a lot of emotional football. You remember this was the game in which a dirty hit sidelined Travis Hunter. Yes. There's been a lot of real personal stuff said between the two head coaches. And we know how Deion Sanders handles stuff that he deems personal. So
I got receipts.
Yeah. So, it's we were talking about this on the show I was producing today, and the comment we eventually settled on was like, it may not be the most physical of games in terms of the football, but that doesn't mean it's going to be played cleanly. And it's just, I just think there's an opportunity. But here's the thing. Colorado needs to focus, and they got to get out of their own way. This is a game that they need to win. And they really struggled in this game last year, but they don't have the same start that they did last year. And the game last year was probably like the peak of the prime era Colorado hype train, right? It obviously fell apart right after that. Yes, they got annihilated like 10 straight weeks. But they kind of got to get off to they got to get a win here after what happened in Nebraska. The Deion Sanders discussion, the prime discussion, it can turn south real quick. And for as much as he wants to keep the discussion about him and Shador and Hunter, like there are going to be some real questions raised about the inability to build a program with all of the resources he has over 2 years. If they lose this one, it's going to be a real problem. So if Prime were smart, he needs to be dialed in on his team and say, look, I understand that this is emotional. This is personal. That can't show itself on the field. It really can't. That can't be a reason that they lose this game is dumb penalties and chippiness and nonsense. They got to focus on football. They really need this win.
Absolutely. They do need the win. And, with how much, I guess you could call it scrutiny that Prime is under with everything, if you upset the fan base and you go back-to-back weeks, you lose to you get, not if you don't lose, but if you get
fan base is cowards, even. They're not going to call them out. They're cowards. They're not going to call them out.
That is, I will say that they are bandwagon fans at Colorado. They are very bandwagonish.
Absolutely.
So if you look at it this way, though, say put that out of perspective, right? You get blown out. If you say you get blown out by your instant rival, like you just got blown out last week against Nebraska, you get blown against your instant rival. Imagine how hot that seat's going to start really feeling in the on the butt of Prime, because you're now, Dan Lannon said great last year. They're playing for clicks. We're playing for wins, and that's very true as it shows. You barely beat North Dakota State. It came down to North Dakota State getting tackled at the 3-yard line for you to lose that game. To win that game for Colorado, you get blown out by Nebraska. If you lose to your instant rival and then you even get blown out, you better believe you've got a lot of critics that are going to come after you and say the Prime era needs to end. He's done great for Colorado with regards to getting money back into the university, but what really has he done? If you're losing to your rival, what really has he done for your school?
Well, the good news for Deion Sanders and Prime is that the people making the decisions about the football team are nowhere close to where the media is and the scrutiny there. Like, they're obviously not going to fire him. But I think it's pretty safe to say that, like, there's no reason to have any faith or trust that he can build a program. And what do you have next year when Travis Hunter and Shedeur are off to the NFL. Like we have no reason to believe he can develop a quarterback. We know he can't pick out an offensive line. Like it's not going to get better next year. It's going to get so much worse. I wonder if he steps away after Shedeur goes to the NFL and just says he wants to focus on helping him at that level. Like there's no value to Deion stay. I mean, there's a monetary value, but he doesn't really need the money. But what's the value to him staying at Colorado once his son's gone? Like it's going to be a mess.
Absolutely. And there was an article that was mentioned.
You think Florida State wants him after what he's shown at Colorado for 2 years? God. When he doesn't get to bring in a pair of 5 stars, like why would Florida State want him?
Well, exactly. You don't want to have that.
Look, I'm a Florida fan. I beg Florida State to bring him into Tallahassee. You just asked when was the last time we saw the Florida State program at this level a couple of minutes ago. Next year, if they hire Deion, is going to be the
answer. But absolutely, he will bring the revenue up. Do
you really think Florida State needs that?
Brings the revenue up? Winning championships.
That's right. Do you think, honestly, though, Matt, that Florida State is hurting for money, though?
No, absolutely not. They're absolutely not hurting for money.
I mean, with all this talk that they had this offseason, that they were, they're trying to get out of that ridiculously high exit fee for the AFC for the grant of rights deal. But, who's to say if they brought in Deion Sanders to Florida State, yes, it would look great on paper, but that's all it would look good on his paper because, you're right, Abe. What is going to happen with Colorado next year? And then, like I said, there was an article, I think it was out 2 days ago, that was released by 24/7 Sports that said, could Deion step away from coaching after his son is done? And, I mean, you got Shiloh, but, you still have him on there, but Shedeur's gone. Supposedly he's your favorite because he's even come out and said Shedeur is his favorite. But then they've alternated it too, that 1 week it was Shedeur, the next it was Shiloh. So, which one really is your quote favorite child,
I just, again, like they're going to be so bad next year without it's just, there's no reason to believe that he can develop a quarterback and hire a coaching staff and without Travis Hunter. Like half of the people are tuning in not to see Deion this year. They're tuning in to see Shedeur, who could be a top 5 pick. And they're tuning in to see Travis Hunter, who could be a top 5, top 10 pick. Like the Deion thing really won't hold next year without those two guys. It's really about them more than it is about him in terms of the interest. They're there to watch. Like we're here to watch the players at this point. And we're certainly not going to be paying attention to whatever Deion's got on the sidelines. And I don't care who he's got. If the team is like 1-11, 2-10, like, you could probably make an argument right now that he is the worst head coach in FBS football. He's got 2 talented players and that covers it up. But like, we'll see how it goes. Like you mentioned against Colorado State, but certainly the rest of the way. But like, you can make an argument. And the thing is, at least with every other coach, we have like this premise that they can build the program, right? Like even at Vanderbilt, like Clark Lee, like the question is he the right guy to build the program? Like Billy Napier comes into Florida. Can he build the pro? There's not even like a premise right now, like in the early stages of the second year that he can even build the program. So I mean, I guess the theory is like he's going to be able to recruit, but like, that's not, he gets a couple of guys here and there, but not really. Like, not really. And it's a disaster.
Absolutely.
It's still Colorado. So
yeah.
I mean, it's been since the 80s, the late 80s and
early 90s. Early 90s.
Yeah. They were
early mid 90s, really. 94, 95. Yeah.
So it really does come down to Ken Prime,
Jeremy Bloom in 98.
And if Deion falls flat on his face, they're going to go back to all the jibber jabber that he runs, and I have nothing against him. He did great things for Atlanta. I loved him when he played for the Falcons, hated him when he played for Dallas, hated him when he played for the 49ers. But, again, talk is just talk. You can talk until the cows come home, but until they come home, it's just talk. So, well, it's going to be an exciting week. Abe, what do you have lined up for this weekend for you, sir? Any on-air appearances that you're going to be doing for your show?
Yeah, so I'm hosting college football game time tomorrow from 8 to 10. I got a quick 30-minute show Saturday evening, tomorrow evening, before sliding into pregame and postgame for Atlanta United. And then I'm doing a appearance on Monday night here in Atlanta for Monday Night Football, a little watch party at Tin Roof in like the Druid Hills, Brookhaven area. So other than that, just watching football, man. Like it should be pretty fun. And the crazy thing is for Braves fans, like they've been so persona non grata, like on Saturdays and Sundays now that football season's here. But they are hosting the Dodgers for a 4-game set. It's a really big series. So can't quite lose sight of that. But I mean, college football, man, like it's just undefeated. Like it really is. And if I'm going to be fair, like I think I like college football more than the NFL because like they're like actively giving you as many games to watch as possible. While the NFL, unless you're going to like shell out for $800 for Sunday ticket, like you really don't get to choose which games you want. They kind of all are at the same time. The college football's got it, man. I'll tell you what.
Amen for that. And it's funny you said the NFL. Last weekend, I was so excited because we had all this hype. Panthers, the Falcons, the Steelers, that's going to be live. And that was the game they were highlighting, right? No, what do we see? We see the absolute dumpster fire of the Carolina Panthers. And Cassie and I were like, this is terrible. It's 30-3. Why are we watching this? I'm like, that's all they have on. We ended up going to Target. That's how bad it was. So, hey, nothing wrong with Target. But, hey, Abe, I have had an absolute blast having you on. I love our interactions that we do with text. I love the interactions that we do with you on the show. And I'm looking forward to hearing your takes come after Monday Night Football. Please let me know on Tuesday your thoughts if Atlanta does good or bad. Sound good?
Yeah, look, win or lose, we better not be if we're having the same discussion about Kirk Cousins in the offense, it might be a problem. But again, I think we can advance beyond that, even in a losing effort, as long as they can look mildly competent and heading in the right direction. But man, please don't score 10 again and look like that. I'm begging you.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Hey guys, if you want to seriously follow Abe, check him out. He has his own show is called the Abe TL Show, based in Atlanta for 92.9 The Game. Great radio station, great people down there in Atlanta. They have some great audience members too. Gosh, some of the best. But Abe, thank you so much for coming on, man. We look forward to having you on again. All right, my friend.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. We'll chat again soon.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, man. That was a good show with him. I had a blast. Obviously getting the chance to talk some Atlanta sports. He hit the nail on the head with regards to Brian. He really did. If you lose to your in-state rival, can you really rely on Deion Sanders to build a future for the school? And the question will come in weeks to come. We don't know. It all depends on what we are going to see.
Yeah.
Matt, what are you looking forward to doing this weekend? I know the weather is actually improved. It's not going to be as bad as they were calling it for, but what are you looking forward to most this weekend?
Oh man, football. Honestly, football, man. Just college football on Saturday, NFL on Sunday. Just want to see what's going to happen. My NFL team doesn't play on Sunday; it plays Monday, so I get to sit back on Sunday and enjoy it, and enjoy the football, man, top to bottom. So that's all I'm gonna do, man. I'm just gonna sit back. I would say what I'm gonna drink, but I don't want to get flagged.
Don't get flagged.
Yeah. You got flagged for mentioning Tarjay, so
yeah. Hey, on behalf of all of us here, we want to say it was Target is the place we went to, the little bullseye. There we go. That's better. Hey, I don't give a darn. It's Target. It's a great store. We love it.
What about you, man? What are you doing? What are you gonna do this weekend?
So, as you know, I'm getting better every day with my knee. I'm ready to start walking. Gosh, I'm already start walking, but I can't walk just yet. I gotta wait till the 1st of October to be told I can move those 2 little legs of mine and get going on that kind of stuff. So what I'm looking forward to this weekend actually is spending some time with the girls.
Okay.
I recently got the privilege, to spend a lovely day with my baby girl Aspen. I had a lot of fun until 45 minutes before literally everybody had to come home. Stella had diarrhea, so I had to clean that up. And that was hard, by the way, with you doing it on crutches. And then Aspen got upset because for whatever reason she wanted to cry, so she was crying.
Also, for those who don't know, Stella is his dog.
Yes. Okay. Stella is our doggie. She is a great dog. She is a German Shepherd Lab mix. I was gonna show you her, but she's here she comes, ladies and gentlemen. This is Stella Bella. That is our dog Stella. She heard her name being talked about, so she came down, but she had an upset tummy. Yeah, so it wasn't fun doing that. But let's see what else am I looking forward to doing?
Yeah.
Other than watching football, that hits an extra chord. I love it. It's watching football.
Missed it so much.
It's just something about it, like I said before, it makes the world feel better.
Yes.
To get the chance to watch football, be with family, be with friends, and hopefully next week we get to have you come up, sir.
Hopefully, man. How you doing in your fantasy league?
Yeah, let's not go there, folks. Later, with that being said, the show is over. Goodbye. No, I was kidding. No, I lost 62-61. Yeah, it was. But you know who really hurt me the most, though?
Who?
Marvin Harrison Jr. got me 0.4 points. Like, dude, come on. You're the number 3 pick in the draft.
Man, he can't throw
me more than that. He only got 1 catch for 4 yards. Come on.
He had 3 targets. He's nothing you can do about that, man. Can't do anything about that. Kyler looked a lot better than I thought he was going to look. I know I mentioned that last episode. Kyler looked good. He was just spreading it throughout the offense, man. He wasn't honing in on one receiver, which he probably should have honed in on Marvin Harrison a little bit more. I saw a couple plays where he ended up being wide open, for touchdowns.
Where's that one over the end zone? He's literally doing this and jumping.
Yeah.
Kyler completely ignored him.
Remember, Kyler's only 5'9", man. He has to see over those 5'6" offensive linemen. It's tough. A lot of people don't realize how it is being down on the field, having to look over the offensive lineman.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that, man. They see it from a bird's eye view on the TV screen. But when you're down there, you're looking over offensive linemen. They're 6'7", 6'8", 6'6". Yes. And you have to see.
Hey, and I'm 6'5", and I had to, thankfully, I was not really a blocking tight end. I was a receiving tight end. But when I had to do my share of blocking, it was not as easy as people think. Because regardless of height, I mean, heck, there is, what was that 6'11" offensive tackle that's going to University of Georgia next year.
Yeah,
guys, when they snap the ball, you literally have to be low and you have to push up. So think about it. I'm 6'5". I'm going against a 6'4", 6'5", maybe a 6'6" lineman right there. I'm picking up. Do you really think I can see beyond? No, it's kind of hard because I'm having to focus on not only picking a guy up, but staying low and not getting my knees chopped off underneath me. So blocking was never really been my favorite. I was great in defense. God, I was really good in defense. I was good at receiving, but yeah, blocking is a whole new scheme. Matt, let's hope that Kyle Pitts actually plays this weekend. Plays on Monday.
I hope so, man. I'm pretty sure scouts from the opposing defenses, man, that for the rest of the season, they're gonna attack Kyle Pitts. I could definitely see him and Caleb McGarry. I could definitely see that, man. So they have to be better. They just have to be better. They have to. And I know I'm not gonna sit here and say they're not giving 100% effort. I'm pretty sure they are. They're down in the field. They're giving effort. They just have to be better. They just have to be better, man.
Come on, Kyle Pitts. Live up to the name, the unicorn. There is a reason why they call you that. There is a reason why they're calling you that they were knighting you as the next Tony Gonzalez or
1,000 yards in his rookie year. I mean,
yeah,
you
got to do it, man. You got to take that next step, guys. We've had a blast with you on the show today. We can't thank you guys enough for coming on. But now we've bent your ear for a good hour and 20 minutes. Thank you so much for that. But hey, Matt. What are you hoping to see as far as a score-wise for the Atlanta Falcons versus the Philadelphia Eagles?
And not just a home on one game, but yeah, for that particular, I expect to see a shootout, man. To be honest, and I know that's not either style, but I saw the style of the Eagles, and the Falcons obviously don't want to implement that style, judging by what we saw. But I think this game is going to be something like 34-27. I think the Eagles pull it out.
I'm seeing like 24-17 kind of game. I wouldn't be surprised if Eagles win, but I would also put out that there's a potential for the Falcons win. 24-17. It's going to be a game.
If Kirk Cousins can do what he needs to do, yes.
That's right. Guys, we've had fun. We love you so much. Thank you all to have watched. Thank you for those who have chimed in, even though we did have quite a bit of negative comments that came in. Just remember, folks, this is a family-friendly show, and those kind of words will not be tolerated and are not appreciated. And the people who did that, they know that they were blocked and removed. So I would really appreciate it in the return if we would not have that kind of language again. We've had a blast with you. We will be back next Tuesday. Now, there is a potential that actually, you know what? The 20th. I'm thinking the 20th. Gosh. So next week, we may actually have a person on Tuesday come on from SEC Unfiltered. I'm not sure yet. I'm trying to still lock that down. But we do have the Columbus Clingstones GM coming on the show next week. We do have our good friend Vince from the Michigan Avengers Arena Football Team coming on. We do have the South Carolina Ravens coming on as well in the coming weeks. We have a lot of good stuff coming up. We can't wait to share them with you guys. But for now, all we need you guys to do, go on over to the YouTube channel, tell all your friends, please click that subscribe button because we're going to get some more good content for you. With that being said, for our good friend Abe Gordon of the Abe TL to come on to the show, for this guy right here, look at that. Let's see, touch fingers. Come on, do it.
This is ridiculous.
For this guy right here, Matt, I am Brandon saying peace up, A-Town down. We love you. Now, you ain't got to go home, but you do got to get the heck up out of here because it's Friday. We made it. So, bye. Show's over.
Don't get flagged.
Don't get flagged. Night.
Peace.
Well, he just did. He just scored 8 points. That's the thing. He had a career